after watching this video, check out the new PhoneDog.com homepage and play the OnePod Bandit for your chance to win free phones. But the pre-OS, the big calling card, is the card system of multitasking. So just to say, with iPhone, we kind of don't know yet because they haven't officially launched it and they haven't turned on push notifications in apps. Remains to be seen how much multitasking you can do and how much background apps can run in terms of pushing content out to you. What that means is right now, if you want to check, instant messaging or your Facebook status or something like that, you have to actually click the app and log in and or get it running and have it connect, and then it'll update. So like my Twitter feed, if I use Tweety here on my iPhone, and it'll see it's loading up my feed, right? So with the and then if I'm done with this app, then when I click to go back to the home screen, it's done. The app is done. So with the WebOS on the pre, if I run my Twitter app here, Tweed, I can call this up and then I can leave it running while I start something else like my web browser, and then if I get new notifications, it'll let me know via the contact bar in the bottom. And that's the same with other apps as well, messaging, push email, that kind of thing. On the iPhone right now, the only push email supported is if you go through Apple's Mobile Me service, which is an additional fee. And as of right now, when you get new messages, you just get a little ticker that tells you how many messages you have unread in your inbox. On the pre, when you get a new piece of email, it will show you a little preview of it. So I'm going to send myself an email here from my computer, which you can't see in the background, and we'll see if we can get it to show up on the pre. But then in the meantime, well, this is still open, so I'll launch the pre website, or the Palm website rather. We'll get that going. And then I can go back, my Twitter feed loaded up. So that's happening already. I can obviously go in and I can manually refresh it if I want to, or I can just leave it going, in the background there, and then go back, and in the meantime, the Palm website loaded. So that's pretty cool. The WebOS, a lot of potential for people to do cool stuff with it, and basically you're unlimited theoretically in terms of how many apps, or cards as they call them. They refer to each of these instances of an app as a card. How many cards you can have going at once, but you're limited by processor power. So once you get, up into whatever, depending on the app, 7, 8, 10 apps, something like that. You notice some slowdowns, like the music will start to stutter in the background if you're doing just too much stuff at once. We'll launch the NASCAR app here in the background and leave that going. As you can see, the pre uses this gesture system. They both have multi-touch screens, the iPhone and the pre. The pre has this gesture bar on the bottom here, so you do the multi-touch anyway, and you can scroll. It supports pinching and zooming, not in this app apparently. Although I don't know if we look at this dude's picture, maybe we can pinch and zoom and stuff a little bit. But then there's this gesture bar here on the bottom where you do things like flick up to minimize a card, and then you can swipe back and forth. Or when you're in an app, you can swipe back, although I didn't just do it. I can swipe. Maybe this app doesn't support swiping back. Let's go to the web. And in the web, I can swipe back, and I'll go back a page. I don't know if swiping forward is supported here or not. And then, like you said, you flick up in the gesture bar, and there are different gestures. You can do advanced gestures that let you switch between active apps with a full swipe across, and it's pretty neat. And then you've got the home button also that will take you back to the main cards view, so you can do different things. So it's a pretty cool little system. Sometimes I feel like there is kind of an extra gesture involved in getting things done, but it's pretty minimal, and so far it works really well. And again, with the multitasking, it's just a matter of how many apps and how many different things people come up with ways to use the device. I'll show you the messaging in a second, because that's a way that using the multitasking is pretty cool right now. On the iPhone OS, again, you're limited right now multitasking. You can have music playing in the background with the iPod, and that's kind of it. We show you this actually in the other video that goes into the music and video players. Again, remains to be seen with the new OS. Once Apple pushes out push notifications, they get that going for real. It'll kind of remain to be seen how much you're able to do with push notifications running in the background, what the limitations are on, you know, what Apple will let you do. The flip side of having such a tightly controlled system from Apple is that I've never had an instance where the music, you know, starts stuttering in the background because I'm doing too much. Then again, I can only do, you know, one other thing at a time. But you know, I can get the web browser going, the Safari browser, and while that's going, I can double-click and call it my iPod. But that's kind of the extent of your multitasking abilities on the iPhone. New iPhone OS, some upgrades to the mail, you know, a lot of the apps. Not going to go too in depth in terms of the updates here. So one of the things, iPhone messaging has always supported, you know, SMS messages shown in a threaded view. iPhone 3.0 will now support MMS messaging. Unfortunately, on AT&T in the US, AT&T is not going to support it until later in the summer, even though iPhone 3S is coming out very soon. So that's a little bit of a drag. But eventually, they'll get around to it. So again, it'll be interesting to see, you know, obviously you get a notification when you get a new text message on the iPhone, it shows up in a little dialog box. Interesting to see with things like instant messaging apps, how push notifications are handled and how well it works. As it is right now, when you go to an instant messaging app, you log in and it's really only, you know, notifying you while you're in the app. So there are some workarounds, things where you get, you know, text messages when you get a new IM, that kind of stuff. But in terms of true instant messaging push functionality, you're not going to get it right now on iPhone. And it'll, you know, when Apple turns it on in a couple weeks, we'll see how it works. With the Pre, I'll log in here to my IM. So I can stay logged into my IM, and then while this is running, I can go back to these other apps, and nothing more has happened on my Twitter feed. We'll get Gmail going. Okay, so on the Pre now, you can see my conversations are saved with, I'm talking to Phone Dog, you know, Adriana, Tom, and Aaron from Phone Dog, and I can go into these conversations and I can, you know, review them back from later. You can see there's a Gtalk conversation. I can switch the mode that I'm talking. I'm not logged into any other chat services right now. I can talk this way. I can also send text messages if I'd rather. If I go to Adriana's profile here, you can see, you know, I've got her Google profile, her Google Talk profile. She's got a separate Google profile. I can link more profiles. It retains my all my conversations with her, whether they're text message or IM or what have you, all in one spot, which is really pretty cool. And it's the trend now. HTC's doing that. You know, some of the other devices are doing that. And you can see now I've got a new email. And so in the notifications bar, I just tap on that, and then I get a preview of what the email is, and I can tap on it again to call it up, or I could just swipe it out of the way. We'll show you a little more if I get some music going here. And so now I've got, you can see I've got another icon down there. So I go back to you know, my web browsing, and I can pinch to go out and everything, and I'm gonna check out the Centro. And then in the meantime now I've got two notifications. One is that email message still because I haven't looked yet, and the other is control of the music while the music's playing. And then if I don't actually want to deal with my email right now, let's just get rid of it. And then you can see the main window minimizes and maximizes. It's really cool. It's really well done. There's, again, a lot of potential here. The App Store isn't, you know, that big yet, and some of the core apps I think need some work. But you know, it's a version 1 and it works really well. It's very nice. And now you can see from Tweed, I've got new messages in my Twitter feed as well. Tweed, for some reason, when I tap on it, it doesn't go back to the app. I don't know why. It's not a Palm app. It's a third-party app, and there's some kind of a glitch there. But you know, the other apps do. If I tap on the music app, it'll take me right back there, and I've still got my Tweed notification there. So very, very cool. WebOS, just a ton of potential here, and you can see, I think it's really pretty. I think it's really nice to look at. It's generally pretty snappy. Heard some complaints about apps taking a little while to load sometimes, but you know, I haven't had too much of trouble with that. Battery life has been an issue. There's a bug apparently with the AIM system that they're working on, and when you don't log yourself out of Instant Messenger, the battery life drains very quickly. Even with that off, the battery life on the iPhone 3G is definitely a little bit better at this point than the Palm Pre, but hopefully Palm will be able to resolve that in the meantime. So, I think it's two different ways of skinning a cat in terms of the way the OS looks. And with the iPhone, it's very simple with the grid interface, and you have all your apps, and you go back and forth, and it's very app-oriented in terms of one app then the other. And now they're adding notification or push notifications in the background, a little bit of multitasking. The Pre from the ground up was built for multitasking with the whole card system, and a little less control with the iPhone. Like I said, you're never going to hit a situation where you're getting performance lags because you have too many apps running. With the Pre, there's a little bit more of an onus on the user to manage your apps, but it's not nearly as hard to manage your open apps on the Pre as it is on a Windows Mobile or a Symbian device, something like that, where you've got to use a task manager and remember stuff. With the Pre, it's kind of like they did a nice job of saying, you know what, you swipe up, and then you see all your open stuff, and you realize, oh man, I forgot I'm still logged into to my Instant Messenger here, and then I want to get myself logged out, so I go to Buddies, and I sign off, and I'm done. So right now, I would actually give the edge in terms of operating system just the platform itself. I think the Pre is a cool concept, and it has more potential than the iPhone right now, but the iPhone's further along. So you've got many, many more apps, and the actual apps are a little bit more robust. Email works well on both devices. Here, I'll show you an email. So I just swiped up a little bit to hide the header information, but here's an email, same email on both phones. You can see, just a little bit different way of looking at it, but it's HTML email on both devices. If I want to zoom in on that photo, you can see it works on both with the double tap, so very similar. Same screen resolution. The Pre screen is physically a little bit smaller. You've got your options on both systems in terms of forwarding and replying and deleting and all that kind of stuff. And just a different way of doing business. But again, the big difference here is with the iPhone, when you're done with email, you're done. With the Pre, you can keep the email open. You can, if you wanted to refer to it and then go back to a message or a tweet or whatever and send it to somebody. So a little more flexibility there. Both phones now support cut and paste. So with the Pre, you've always got this menu on the top with different contextual options for the apps, and the edit menu will always let you do the cut, copy, and paste. And there's a shortcut as well with your hardware key. With iPhone 3G now supporting cut and paste, basically what you do is when you click to highlight text and you get that little magnifying glass that you're used to, now you've got the select all. So I can hit select, and then I can drag to see how much stuff I want to select, and then I have a copy option. So now they both support cut and paste, so woohoo, modern times. But again, all in all, looking at the operating systems, just the actual operating system, I give the edge to Pre with the WebOS. It's innovative. As much as the original iPhone revolutionized, I really think, the way that people interact with their devices, the Pre really has come along and kind of built upon what the iPhone did in terms of usability and eye candy, and also what other operating systems have been doing for a while in terms of multitasking and app management. With Windows Mobile, Symbian, what have you, BlackBerry OS. But the Pre's kind of come along and wrap that in a very user-friendly package, and then sign of the times, phones are becoming communication devices, and so you've got these little unobtrusive alert bars that are just really nice to use, and let you kind of see what's going on but keep going, as opposed to the iPhone where that badge comes over and kind of stops everything until you deal with it. Again, it's a matter of preference. If you don't want to be that hyper-connected and multitasking, then you might prefer the iPhone. If you do, then you might prefer the Pre. They both work really well. The big deal right now in iPhone's favor is that you've got a ton of apps in the App Store, 50,000 plus, whereas the Pre is, a couple dozen maybe. But again, hopefully developers will take to the WebOS and start creating apps that will make the Pre and the WebOS platform as useful and flexible as the iPhone platform has become. So again, my edge in the OS to the Pre in terms of potential. Right now, if you're looking to extend what your device can do, you can't match the iPhone OS in terms of just sheer number of different things you can do with it. Everything from remote controlling your computer's iTunes system to, I don't know, virtual farts and stuff like that. And I think that the new advances in iPhone OS 3.0 with in-app purchasing, with push notifications, with hardware accessories that can access the software core OS, so to see things from glucose meters to hopefully snap-on keyboards, that should be a big deal. Also, a big deal with the iPhone OS 3.0 is the landscape keyboard that I mentioned, which is something they should have had a while ago. They didn't, but now, when you're in a messaging app, you can rock the sideways keyboard, which for me is a big deal. I prefer typing this way. So there you go. There's a look at the devices, the hardware, and the OS and everything. In the next video, we're going to take a look at the media players and the whole iTunes ecosystem versus the Palm Pre Amazon MP3 store, YouTube player, that kind of stuff. And then the third video, we're going to take a look at the web browsers and also kind of give a wrap up. So there you go. I'm Noah from PhoneDog.com. It's a dogfight, Palm Pre versus iPhone. This was part 1. Check out parts 2 and parts 2 and 3. And we'll have much, much more on both devices, the new iPhone when it comes out. Whatever's next, we got you covered on PhoneDog.com. Thanks for watching. You can follow me on Twitter, PhoneDog_Noah, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.